Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News live from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Katharina Cheng. First a look at your headlines. Trade unions accuse the government of preparing to slash gratuity payments. Raising prices of imported drugs without prior approval prohibited. Women arrested on suspicion of murdering an infant in Dehivala. Confusion clouds search for flight MH370. Details of these stories and more await you from the main news desk.
Thank you, Katrina.
A very good evening. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Nicola De Zoiza. And on our top story for today, several trade unions charge that the government is attempting to slash employees' gratuity payments.
They say that as a result, those retiring from the public service are at risk of being deprived of their gratuity payments.
According to statistics at the Department of Pensions, 25,000 civil servants retire annually. As per the present system, when a civil servant retires, he or she is entitled to 2 years' wages as a gratuity payment. The payment is made over a period of 10 years and is deducted from the pension interest-free. Trade unions charge that the government is attempting to change this system and is drawing up blueprints to make gratuity payments through state banks.
The banks will make these payments in keeping with their system. These are commercial institutions. The banks have a system for granting loans. The banks will charge interest. In addition, 2 persons have to sign as witnesses. There will be several such problems.
The Public Service Trade Union Alliance too convened a media briefing today to make clarifications on the matter.
The entire gratuity payment will not be taken back. It is only 58 to 60% that will be charged. When this is taken as a loan from the bank will definitely charge the entire amount. Allocations for gratuity payments are made through the pension fund. At this time, we have to question if the government has laid its hands on that fund. Several state banks were mortgaged in order for the government to secure loans from foreign banks. A policy was created to grant interest-free loans to 3,000 women. So these could be popular topics for the government, but the banks cannot bear this burden. Through entrusting the banks with something that should be done by the government, first the banks will fall in trouble, and secondly the pensioners will fall in trouble.
Gratuity payments have not been made for 13,200 civil servants since October last year. A sum of 7 billion rupees is required for this. The pension is not given as charity. Every civil servant makes a contribution for this from the day they start working. So where is the money we contributed? Suppose they decide to make the payments, can they pay 7 billion to 13,200 employees at once?
In recent times, the pensions department has been facing a major crisis because they do not have the funds to pay these debts. Thereby, we wish to inform civil servants that they have an opportunity to voice their opposition to this process undertaken by the government by casting their votes against the government during postal voting.
After working for so long, we find when we go home that we have no money to save. If we have debt repayments or other such payments along with the money that we receive, then we can live with the meager wage we receive.
The gratuity is one of the payments. We got a lot of things done with that money. So when this money is lost, we cannot do these things. People take loans to get a lot of things done and they pawn what they have for this. Then they wait for the gratuity to correct this.
However, the Director General of the Department of Pensions says that steps will be taken to make all gratuity payments that are in arrears by the end of April.
It has been difficult to make the gratuity payments for about 15,200 people on the due date. These people have been unable to receive their monthly benefits, that is, their gratuity payments. I believe the government has prepared the program needed to enable us to make these payments rapidly. Civil servants who have served the nation for 25 to 30 years will not face any disadvantage through this system. The country is progressing rapidly. Our labour force must accustom themselves to working with technology.
Journalists made inquiries regarding this matter at a media briefing convened by the UPFA today.
රාජ්‍ය සේවකයාට ලැබුණු කිසිම අයිතිවාසිකමක් තිබුණු එකක් හෝ ලැබුණු එකක් හෝ කප්පාදු කරන්න අපි කවදාවත් වැඩ කරපු ආණ්ඩුවක් නෙවෙයි. මේ චෝදනාව නගන අයගේ පක්ෂ සමහර වෙලාවට
We are not a government that has ever slashed or cut back on any entitlement that civil servants have had. The parties of the persons who are levelling these allegations may have sometimes been prepared to cut back on this. We are not like that. We are not a government that has ever worked to slash pensions or gratuity payments or any other entitlement. We are a government that has done something.
සිද්ධියට වඩා විවේචනයක් තියෙනවා. ඇත්තට වඩා නැත්තක් ගැන කතා කරනවා. රාජ්‍ය සේවකයෝ වෙනුවෙන් අපි කරලා තියෙන ප්‍රමාණය මම හිතන්නේ ආණ්ඩුවක් විසින් කරපු ලොකුම ප්‍රමාණය තමයි අපි කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
රාජ්‍ය සේවකයේ විශ්‍රාම වෙනකොට අවසාන එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ රජකාරී අවලංගුව. පළමුකම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ.
The last United National Party government abolished the civil servants' pension when Ranil Wickremesinghe was Prime Minister. The President brought it back. There are some parties which not only took away the wages of the civil servants but also deprived them of the right to live. They abolished the pension payment. If this government did not collapse, then no one who enters public service today would have a pension.
Minister of Cooperatives and Internal Trade Johnston Fernando says that the prices of imported drugs cannot be increased without approval in the future. At a media briefing held in Colombo today, the minister noted that the Gazette announcement listed cosmetics and drugs as essential goods.
Minister Johnston Fernando also noted there are over 15,000 types of registered medicinal drugs in the country.
There are some drugs where a profit of 800% is made. There are also profit margins of 130%, 160% and 180%. I do not think that any other businessman makes such profits. We see this as extortion. The prices of drugs imported after the 4th of March cannot be increased in any way. If they are to increase the price, they must obtain our approval. This price control is limited to the importers only. It does not affect local manufacturers. We will conduct a study on local manufacturers in the next 4 months. දේශීය නිෂ්පාදකයන්ට නෙමෙයි. දේශීය නිෂ්පාදකයන් ගැන ඉදිරි මාස 4-5 තුනදී අපි අධ්‍යයනයක් කරනවා.
Red Bull gives you wings.
The last heard words of missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 was revealed this morning during a meeting between Malaysian authorities and the Chinese relatives of a majority of the passengers. According to reports, the last words of the pilot were, quote, "All right, good night," unquote. Malaysian authorities said that MH370 disappeared from radar screens soon after without making any distress call and no confirmed wreckage being found despite a vast search.
Vietnam has said that it was scaling back the search in Vietnamese waters for a Malaysian Airlines jetliner missing for 4 days.
Chúng tôi có thông báo cho nhà chức trách Malaysia biết là tại
We have scaled down the searches for today and are still waiting for the response from Malaysian authorities. We had informed Malaysian authorities that at the time the aircraft disappeared, it was heading west, but they did not have any return communication. Up until now, we only had one meeting with the Malaysian military attaché. However, the information they have provided is insufficient. We will still contact them for further requests, but I think that from last night until now, there has been a lot of different information from all sources, but not an official response from Malaysian authorities.
Từ buổi tối hôm qua đến nay thông tin thế giới đưa như thế nhưng mà
Earlier today, the head of Malaysia's Air Force denied making comments that the Malaysian military had last tracked the plane far to the west of its course over the Strait of Malacca. A massive air and sea search, now in its 5th day, has failed to find any trace of the Boeing 777, and the last 24 hours have seen conflicting statements and reports over what may have happened after it lost contact with air traffic controllers. Yesterday, Malaysia's Berita Harian newspaper quoted Air Force Chief Rodzali Daud as saying the plane was last detected by military radar at the northern end of the Strait of Malacca at 2:40 a.m. on Saturday, hundreds of kilometers off course. Rodzali said today that he did not make any such statement. A commanding officer of the US Navy's 7th Fleet docked at Hong Kong port says search for the missing Malaysian Airlines plane is getting harder as time passes and search area expands.
Time is not on our side. As every hour goes by, the search area gets bigger and bigger. From a typical standpoint, a person can survive in the water for at least 72 hours due to sheer willpower. A human being can survive without food or water if they are determined to survive. After that, the chances of survival get less and less, and that's what we're concerned with. For the helicopters and the ships that are much closer to the water, that is very difficult because you cannot see a person or a small piece of debris in the water when the waves are so high. So for that reason, it's become more difficult.
China has expanded its search area and set up a vertical rescue network in air and at sea as it continues to search for the missing Malaysian plane. The amphibious landing ship Kunlun Shan arrived at the designated sea area this morning, joining up with the missile destroyer Haiku and other vessels to carry out search work. China has employed 10 satellites to provide technological support to the search for the missing plane. Some of the satellites have suspended their previous work and cleared their previous directives so as to fully engage in the search and rescue effort. The China Marine Search and Rescue Center adjusted the Chinese search area for the missing Malaysian Airlines jet.
Joining us now is Chalukya Virakun live from Malaysia with more details.
Finding missing aircraft can take days or months. Unraveling what went wrong can take years. But accounts from Malaysian authorities and others involved in the search operations and investigations into the flight MH370 have been particularly confusing and, in some cases, contradictory. Several sightings of debris and oil slicks have been reported, but they're so far proved to be unrelated to MH370. Crews are searching a vast area of sea and are bound to spot slicks of oil from vessels. Establishing that they're connected to the missing flight is another matter entirely. One of the pilots of the missing Malaysian Airlines flight liked to entertain female passengers in the cockpit. It emerged on Tuesday. As it was disclosed that the U.S. authorities had only recently warned of the potential for critical faults on Boeing 777 aircraft. This is Solicitor for Newsfirst, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
It has also been reported that one of the pilots of the missing Malaysian Airlines flight liked to entertain female passengers in the cockpit. The airline said that it was shocked by the pictures.
The images aired on several media and websites show the first officer Farik Abdul Hamid posing with two South African women who said that he smoked on the flight deck and allowed them to stay during takeoff and landing. This is against airlines regulations. Malaysian Airlines said that it was taking very seriously the account from Jonty Ross, a former passenger, who said that Hamid invited her and a friend onto the flight deck flying from Phuket, Thailand to Kuala Lumpur in 2011.
They invited us, or not invited us, they asked us if we couldn't arrange our trip to stay in Kuala Lumpur for a few nights so that they could take us out. Well, then when I realized that it was the exact same co-pilot, and not only that, but that I had met him and that I'd been in the cockpit with him and that I have photos with him, that was quite shocking. We were standing in line at the boarding gate just with everybody else, and the pilot and co-pilot walked past us and came back and asked us if we would like to sit with them in the cockpit during the flight. So obviously we said yes. It's an exciting thing. It's something that not everybody gets to do. I think anyone would have jumped at the opportunity. We were sitting on a pretty uncomfortable seat behind the pilot, and throughout the whole flight they were talking to us. They were actually smoking throughout the flight, which I don't think they're allowed to be doing. At one stage they were pretty much turned around in their seats talking to us, and they were so engaged in conversation. And I'm really not saying that I think that the co-pilot was in the wrong in this flight at all. It could have been absolutely anything, but this is just a little bit of information that I had. I was just completely shocked. I couldn't believe it. When I saw all his friends and his family posting on his wall, obviously my heart really broke for them, and my heart broke for all the families and of the passengers. It's a really sad story.
What happened to Malaysian Airlines flight MH370? Share your views on our website www.newsfirst.lk and join in on the discussion. You can also follow us on Twitter on @newsfirst_en and join the conversation using the hashtag MH370.
Now, the disappearance of flight MH370 may also draw the memories of some Sri Lankans back to 1983 and the disappearance of the Learjet L35A, which also departed from Kuala Lumpur before vanishing without a trace.
The L35A Learjet, from which nothing has been heard of even today, was carrying Sri Lanka's top entrepreneur at the time, Upali Vijayawardena. The Learjet took off from Kuala Lumpur at 8:41 p.m. on the 13th of February 1983 en route to Colombo. According to media reports from the time, the flight disappeared on radar screens 15 minutes after takeoff. There has been no trace of it ever since. Just as many nations have come forward at present to look for flight MH370, in 1983, too, a broad search operation involving the US, Malaysia, Indonesia, Sri Lanka and other nations were undertaken in search of the L35A Learjet. With the discovery of a wheel suspected to have belonged to the jet near the Pulau Pondang Islands on the 21st of February 1983, experts surmised that the jet may have exploded mid-air. 31 years after, the fate that befell the 7 people on board, including Upali Vijayawardena, on the L35A Learjet, remains a mystery.
Welcome back. Malitha Kahatapitiya, the son of Western Provincial Council candidate Kitsiri Kahatapitiya, has been injured in an attack involving a sharp weapon and is receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital.
The police say that he was attacked at about 11:30 last night at the Angruwa-Totayala junction. Malitha Kahatapitiya, who sustained injuries in the attack, was admitted to the Horona Hospital and was then transferred to the Colombo National Hospital.
We were there to organize a series of rallies in the electorate. They came in 4 bicycles and blocked our vehicle. There was an argument between them and our aides. I stepped out of the vehicle and asked them what the problem was. Afterwards, they said that only persons from the government could campaign here, and then they attacked me. Then they stabbed me with a knife. That is all I remember. One suspect has been arrested in connection with this incident. The suspect who stabbed him with the knife has been arrested. The knife was recovered at about 11 a.m. today. 3 more suspects are to be arrested in connection with this incident. The Angurua-Tota police are conducting investigations.
Meanwhile, a group of unidentified arsonists set fire to a JVP political office located in the Veeraketia area this morning. According to our correspondent, the party office was damaged as a result of the fire.
The JVP office located in the Pasmanhandia area in Veeraketia was burned down in this manner. The arson attack took place this morning at around 4:30. A group of JVP supporters were able to douse the fire, but they charge that the office had been vandalized on 3 previous occasions as well.
It is only the JVP that is currently carrying out the duty of the opposition. The people are rallying around the JVP. They are committing such acts to stop this trend.
Speaking at the 25th regular sessions of the UNHRC in Geneva, Deputy Solicitor General Nerin Pulle, who is part of the Sri Lankan delegation to the session, expressed regret about attempts being made to portray sporadic incidents in the country as a sign of religious intolerance. He made this statement following the presentation of the annual report by the UN's Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief.
Mr. President, regrettably, there is an attempt to portray recent sporadic incidents targeting religious places of worship of all religions as a sign of religious hatred and intolerance. The government does not condone such action. In all instances where police complaints have been lodged, the legal process has been set in motion, including producing suspects before magistrates. In addition to the provisions of the Penal Code, the ICCPR Act number 56 of 2007 criminalizes advocating religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility or violence. More broadly, in keeping with Sri Lanka's societal, cultural and historical norms, religious dialogue continues to take place at various levels to ensure interfaith harmony and understanding amongst its diverse populace.
Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe, the Special Envoy of the President on Human Rights, briefed the Latin American Regional Group of UN Human Rights Council members and observer countries yesterday on the current status of the post-armed conflict reconciliation and reconstruction initiatives of the government of Sri Lanka.
Minister Samarasinghe informed the gathering that in view of the impressive progress achieved by Sri Lanka in several spheres of activity, the appropriateness of current initiatives by some countries to promote international intervention by way of inquiry mechanisms is questionable. The minister explained to the assembled heads of missions at the meeting held at the Palladian Nations in Geneva that such a measure was both intrusive and unnecessary. Ambassador Ravinatha Aryasinghe, Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, was also present at the meeting.
External Affairs Minister Professor G.L. Peris, representing President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the chair in office of the Commonwealth, at the Commonwealth Day celebrations in London, including the multi-faith observance at Westminster Abbey, held discussions with Kamlesh Sharma, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, at Marlborough House in London yesterday.
Minister Peris discussed with Secretary General Sharma some broad ideas about how the organisation could develop a roadmap to meet the expectations of the large swath of humanity comprising the population of the Commonwealth. He said that he had consulted informally with several colleagues representing Commonwealth countries regarding priorities as to projects and activities contemplated during the next 2 years. The minister laid stress on the overreaching theme of the Sri Lanka Summit, economic growth with social equity, and discussed practical strategies for ensuring that the benefit of economic development are available to be shared by all sections of society, particularly among youth and in the rural sector.
The Dehiwala police have commenced investigations into a horrific crime where an infant was murdered. The police stated that the mother who allegedly murdered the baby after giving birth has been arrested.
A young couple lived on rent in a house down Waide Road, Dehiwala. The couple, who were employed in Colombo, were blessed with an infant on the 12th of last month. According to the police, the couple had murdered the infant, burnt him and had abandoned the house. The police added that the crime was revealed after the woman lodged a complaint stating that her husband had abandoned her. Investigations revealed that the couple were unmarried. Furthermore, according to the police, the woman in question had consumed medication to get rid of the baby during her pregnancy, failing which she burnt the infant behind the house after having given birth. The police further noted that the remains of the infant was then placed in a tree in the Moroto area. The mother of the infant has been taken into custody while investigations have commenced to find the missing husband, who is a 24-year-old resident of Navla Pitia.
A public rally was held in Luhas Godatissa Maharama today under the auspices of parliamentarian Sajith Premadasa. The parliamentarian made the following remarks on the vacancy for an executioner.
The government is now looking to recruit an executioner to operate the gallows. I wish to tell the government that they do not need to make much of an effort to find executioners. If they look at their cabinet, there are plenty of executioners there. There are ethanol executioners, heroin executioners, moonshine executioners, arak executioners, substandard cement executioners, substandard medicine executioners, and substandard power station executioners. All the executioners are in the government.
Meanwhile, UPFA Gampaha district candidate, attorney at law Susar Dinal, says that it is important to focus attention on meeting the needs of the elderly. He expressed these views at an event held in Gampaha today.
The mothers and fathers here may be unaware of it, but the elderly population in the world is increasing. Thereby I wish to note that I will continue to do everything we can for you, the senior citizens who make up an important part of our society, and to dedicate ourselves to you.
The final rites for the late Hemalata Hettiarachchi were observed today at the Kunura grounds this evening. Earlier in the day, President Mahinda Rajapaksa paid his final respects to the late Hemalata Hettiarachchi.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at the residence in Makadura this morning to pay his final respects to Hemalata Hettiarachchi, the mother of Minister Lakshman Yapa Abewardhana. A large gathering including MPs and ministers led by Prime Minister T.M. Jayawardena paid their final respects today. The cortege departed for the final rites this evening. The final rites for the late Hemalata Hettiarachchi were observed at the Danny Hittatiyage Public Sports Ground in Makadura this evening with the participation of a large gathering.
The following views were expressed at a media briefing convened in Colombo today.
The Sri Lanka Muslim Congress is in limbo. They are not taking anyone in either. Hakim has nowhere to go. He does not have the people's vote. We saw this when they contested the Central Province. The SLMC was defeated in every district. The government is asking them to get out if they cannot stay. He is saying that he will not go and is asking them to sack him. This is the status of the SLMC. Hakim knows that if he is shown the door only, he and Hassan Ali would be the people who leave. The other 5 will stay with the government. All the transactions to take them have been completed.
The biggest responsibility the government has is to appropriately devolve power to the Northern Provincial Council. But the government is not doing this. If the government is to protect the nation or itself, then it must appropriately devolve power to the Northern Provincial Council. This government does not give the due respect to parties representing the Tamil and Muslim people of this country. During elections, they allow the Tamil people and the Muslim people to contest alone and deceive them. This government is not really of the position that these people should have rights.
Another stage of the Newsfirst workshop, which aims to educate the Sri Lankan children about media, was held at the Rahula College in Mullaeriyawa today.
The 120th Newsfirst workshop was held at Rahula College today. Students of other schools in the area also participated in the workshop conducted by Newsfirst. A range of theoretical and practical activities were carried out by the Newsfirst team with the aim of raising the media proficiency of the students. A special token of appreciation was presented to Newsfirst by the students of the school. We believe that the students have a keen interest in communication. This workshop organized by MTV MBC Networks was a success.
We did not know how to compile news, but through this workshop we were able to learn how to compile a story as well as how to present it. Communication is a very important stream for the students because it helps them overcome challenges. Since Newsfirst has always demonstrated how to overcome challenges practically, this workshop proved to be very important for our students.
Sarvagnyadhathu relics are due to be placed at the Mahaveli Saya, which is being constructed in Kothmale on the 17th of this month. A media briefing was organized under the auspices of the chairman of the Mahaveli Cultural Foundation Trust, Minister of Public Management Reforms, Navin Desanayake.
90% of the work has been completed. We will be bringing the Savannah Relics on the 14th and 16th of this month from 3 locations. We will be completing the greatest work of late Gamini Disanayaka. I am only saddened by the fact that it took 31 years to complete this. I believe we will be able to complete all the work within 4 to 5 months after placing the Savannah relics.
The annual sports meet of the Ramanathan Hindu Girls Primary Section was held yesterday. The chief guest at the occasion was General Secretary of the Citizens Front, Parliamentarian J. Sri Ranga.
The annual sports meet of the Ramanathan Hindu Girls School Primary Section commenced after the hoisting of the national flag by Parliamentarian J. Sri Ranga.
Everyone knows our chief guest. If we speak of Minnal, everyone knows him. He is someone who brought several American representatives to our school on a number of occasions. Our children know him very well. He always helps our school. We have requested for some more assistance and he has promised to provide it. We are thankful to him.
ஒரு மனிதருக்கு பிறப்பு அன்னையால் ஏற்படுகிறது. ஆனால் சிறப்பு கல்வியால் தான் ஏற்படுகிறது.
Education gives recognition to every child that is born. Children need to maintain this recognition as well as their health. Events like this can teach children how to deal with success and defeat in life. Defeat is also a life lesson. When Napoleon attempted to rule France, he failed at first. Later he succeeded. Some people in our society believe that they are defeated individuals, but sports teaches you that there is victory behind each defeat.
தோல்வி அடைகிறான் என்றால் அவன் அந்த வாழ்க்கையில் அனுபவத்தை இன்னும் அதிகமாக பெறப்போகிறான் என்ற அர்த்தம்.
Medals and certificates to winners of the events were presented by Parliamentarian J. Sri Ranga.
Newsfirst reporters Roshan Seumal from Minuwangoda and Chandrakumara Dayaratna from Medavachi filed these reports.
A fire erupted at a coconut mill on the Minuwangoda-Veyangoda road at about 11:15 this morning. The mill was greatly damaged. However, firefighters together with the residents in the area managed to douse the fire.
මම Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් your reporter රොෂාන් සෙවමාල් මිනුවන්ගොඩ සිට. ඔබ මේ දකින්නේ මැදවච්චේ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කොට්ටාස.
This is the road which leads to the Lindawava village in the Madhavachi electorate. This road is dilapidated and students and three-wheel drivers who use this road face difficulties. The residents therefore request that this road be renovated.
ගම්මාසෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ මෙම මාර්ගයේ රුත් වැඩියා කර දෙන ලෙසයි. මම Newsfirst your report වෙනුවෙන් චන්ද්‍රකුමාර දයාරත්න මැදවච්චේ සිට.
Residents of Bakery Watta in Navala, Colombo and Colambage Mawata in Kirlapana lodged a complaint with the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission today. They charge that the government is attempting to forcefully evict them from their own homes.
A group including Venerable Ulapane Sumangala Thero as well as Attorney at Law Sunil Watagala were present at the occasion. The Road Development Authority is using the military to arbitrarily interfere with civilian life. They have destroyed the homes of these innocent people for their own narrow-minded gains. They spent hundreds of thousands of rupees on the houses and pay taxes to the government as well. We call on the government to follow the Land Acquisition Act. If the government wants to take over the lands for a common purpose, then these people would gladly give it up. However, they don't want to give up their lands for a business.
So කැමති නෑ ඉඩම් බිස්නස් එකට තමන් ඉන්න තැන වෙනත් කෙනෙකුට දෙන්න.
The 9th round of trials for Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first reality TV sports program, will be held in Kilinochchi this weekend. Aspiring boxers from the northern province can participate in the trials and contend for a position among the final 100 contenders for Super Fighter. A training camp will be held prior to the trials for boxers to hone their skills. Super Fighter is a joint initiative of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst and the MTV and NBC media networks. For more information on the Kilinochchi trials, you can call 075 900 1001. The number once again 075 900 1001.
Official telecommunication partner.
And that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.
Good night.
Hotline
0114 896 896. www